The furnace in your basement is going to fail you. Not today. But on the worst night of the decade, when the grid goes dark and the temperature falls below zero, it will sit there silent and useless. No electricity for the blower. No fuel delivery on icy roads. No heat. And in that moment, you will remember something your grandparents knew that nobody taught you. They heated their homes through winters colder than anything you have lived through, with nothing but wood and a wall of stone. No power, no pipeline, no monthly bill from anyone. For 150 years, that knowledge kept families alive across this country. Then, in the span of about 30 years, it was regulated almost out of existence. Welcome to the survival research. If you have not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up the knowledge that others would rather keep buried. Roughly 9 million of the wood heaters that built this nation have been pushed out of use. Declared illegal to sell, illegal to install, and in many places impossible to keep when you sell your home. Not because they failed you, because they work too well for free outside the system that wants you dependent. The pioneers who crossed this continent had a fire and a problem. The problem is that an open fire is brutally inefficient. Most of the heat from a simple fireplace goes straight up the chimney and out into the freezing night sky. You burn a mountain of wood, your front roasts, your back stays cold, and the stars get warmer than you do. So they solved it. Not with electronics, with physics. They learned to wrap the fire in mass. The mass drinks in that heat, stores it deep, and releases it slowly for the next 12 to 24 hours. One small fire. A full day and night of warmth. A fraction of the wood your fireplace would have eaten. Stop for a second. Because what I just described is only the surface of what I have documented. In the survival research, I have laid out 3 things that do not fit inside this video. The complete thermal mass blueprint. The exact ratio of fire to stone that lets a single short burn heat a home for a full day. The combustion science. Why burning wood hotter produces more usable heat and almost no smoke with no moving parts at all. And the survival heating comparison. Wood mass against propane, electric, and pellet, measured by what actually keeps you alive when the supply chain stops. It is all in the suppressed file, step by step. Scan the QR code on your screen or hit the first link in the description and get it now. Let me keep going. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable for the people who sold you your current heat. Still watching? Then you already understand more about staying warm off the grid than almost anyone you know. What you're learning is the file the heating industry hates because warm stone ends the monthly bill they depend on. Subscribe and share this with someone who would freeze without it. Scan the QR code on your screen or hit the first link in the description and get it now. Now stay with me. This next part is the real reason for the ban. The fire your ancestors built was not just hot. When they did it right, it was clean. A smoldering fire chokes on its own smoke and coats your chimney in sticky tar that waits to catch fire. But a fire that burns fast and hot, fed with enough air, does something that looks almost like a trick. It burns the smoke itself. At around 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit, the very particles that would have become smoke ignite, and they become more fuel. The smoke disappears. The creosote that causes chimney fires disappears. What finally leaves the top of the chimney is mostly warm, clear water vapor. The old masters of stone heat knew this by feel, by the color of the flame and the sound of the draft. Stone, brick, or clay, it did not matter as long as the body was heavy enough to drink the heat. Modern engineers came along and proved it with instruments. A properly built mass heater can pull more than 90% of the energy out of a piece of wood. A conventional open fireplace, closer to 10%, sometimes less. Sit with that gap for a moment. 10% against 90%. From the very same log, the difference is not the wood. The difference is knowledge that was almost erased. Here is the timeline they would rather you never piece together. For generations, a wood heater was simply part of a home. Nobody asked permission to keep their children warm. Then in 1988, the federal government issued its first national standard for new wood heaters. The stated reasoning was air quality, and that concern was genuinely real. An old, uncertified stove can release 40 to 60 grams of fine particle pollution every hour it runs. That is not nothing. In a valley town on a still winter night, that smoke pools low and makes people sick. So the standard tightened. And then a few years later, it tightened again, harder. By 2015, every new heater had to stay under 4.5 grams per hour. By 2020, under 2.5 grams. A small fraction of what the old ones produced. And here's the part almost nobody explains to you clearly. The rules only ever applied to brand new stoves. The one already bolted to your floor was supposed to be left alone. But the changeout programs went much further than the law on paper. All across the country, in the name of cleaner air, agencies began paying people to surrender their old heaters to be crushed into scrap. Whole counties quietly made it illegal to sell a house with an uncertified stove still standing inside it. Roughly 10 million wood stoves remain in use in this country today, and about 65% of them are the old, uncertified kind. That is more than 6 million heaters living on borrowed time, one home sale or one new ordinance away from the shredder. The exact knowledge that warmed the pioneers is being fed, piece by piece, into a metal grinder. Now let me be honest with you, because honesty is the entire point of this channel. The air quality concern is not a lie. Wood smoke is genuinely harmful, and packed into a crowded valley, it is a serious health problem. A mass heater is not magic either. It is heavy, it is permanent, and you cannot move it once it is built. It will not heat a sprawling mansion on its own, and it demands that you learn to run a clean, hot fire instead of a lazy one. And in some cities, building one without the right permit will get you fined. This is not a trick to help you dodge the law. It is the knowledge to make an informed choice with your eyes open. But here's the thing the regulations never honestly accounted for. The single cleanest wood fire on earth is the hot one wrapped in heavy mass, the exact thing the old methods always produced. The dirty smoke they were desperate to ban comes from weak, cold, smoldering, inefficient fires. The traditional masters were never the polluters. They were the solution, burning so hot the chimney ran almost clear. We did not just regulate away dirty stoves, we regulated away the living memory of how to burn wood the right way. And we replaced that memory with a furnace that dies the exact instant the grid does. So here is your choice, and make no mistake, it is a real one. You can stay fully dependent on a system designed to fail at the precise moment you need it most. A pipeline that can be cut, a grid that goes dark in an ice storm, a fuel truck that never comes up your road. Or you can recover the one heat source that asks absolutely nothing of that system. A fire, a wall of stone, and the knowledge they spent 30 years trying to erase from your family. The pioneers did not have a backup plan, because they did not need one. They had this. 9 million heaters were declared obsolete, but the physics that made them work never expired, and it never will. The free heat source was never the real problem. They just made very sure you would forget how it worked.